are doing here and what we're hoping for?
Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do.
So I remember my story, like I remember meeting you for the first time, and I know I've talked about this. Do you remember?
Yes. Was I on the ladder? Or coming down the ladder? I was painting
You were painting
your apartment
my apartment.
before it was your apartment.
Yes. I was looking for a house. No, I was looking for an apartment. I was in a transition period of going from one place to another, trying to find a new apartment. And I remember seeing your place in Waltham and being like, oh my God, I love this house. And I'm like, okay, so I signed up. I set up time to look at your place and then like 3 other apartments at that time. That day, I did apartment searching that day, and yours was the first one. And I remember pulling up to the castle in the sky. That's what we call it. I call it that for Teddy purposes too, where Teddy's always up in like the sky there. And I remember pulling in and being like, no way, this is the house. And I'm like, okay, so maybe this is the house. I'm like, where are you? I didn't know who I was meeting. I'm like, maybe there's some creeper in here. I don't even know. Like, what's going on?
I was definitely a creeper.
and then I was like, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll call you. And you came out. You were painting, but you did come out onto the porch. Mm-hmm. And then we walked through the house. And I was like, oh my God, I love this house. And I want to move in like immediately. But it was like it was the first apartment. And I was like, I can't commit yet.
Right. You said you were going to go look at a couple other apartments, and she told me the streets that they would be on. And I said, oh yeah, go check those out. Sure. And you called what later? Or you emailed?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, it just worked out.
But I remember like leaving your place and I called my mom immediately. And I was like, Mom, I just met this girl and I met this apartment and I love it and I want to move in. She's like, well, you should probably go see I'm like, I know, but I really want to move it. She's like, give the other places a quick chance, like just go look.
She did.
And I did. And I was like, these are crap.
But now we're here 10 years later.
10 years later. 15?
So I actually was cleaning. I was cleaning out stuff like old files and stuff to be shredded, and I found our lease, and it was from 2014. 2014. I was going to send it to you.
That's freaking
our
crazy.
original lease, right? So it was 10 years ago. Actually, a month ago, it would have been August of 2014. So we are now recording in September of 2024. So 10 years.
It's crazy.
It's been crazy. We've had a child together. He's down here. Cannot see him. But fast forward, I think we should talk about how we started to get here. Right here.
Right now.
Yeah, right here to right now. So what, COVID, which was
4 years ago now.
4 years ago. And then I decided to sell my multifamily that we all lived in. And what happened with Teddy was that during COVID, he wasn't socializing with a lot of his friends. Our child. And so whenever I would leave the house, he had separation anxiety and would cry and howl. And Kristina and her partner would have to, like, go and get him because he was, like, barking and freaking out upstairs. So fast forward to 2022, we basically co-shared the dog in our house in between apartments, and Teddy just had his way with all of us. He just,
oh my God, he just
first dinner, second dinner, third dinner,
and just ruled the house.
Would go in between our apartments. So then, not that we weren't close before that, but I think we really kind of became a family, like during that time.
Yeah.
Right. Like I literally would come home and pick Teddy up and, oh, how was his day? Like he ate and, like.
You'd hang out more.
Yeah.
I think we would hang out more during that time.
Yeah, but it was like co-parenting, so we were very involved with our dog. Which just sounds ridiculous now that I say it out loud, but he is going to be 17 years old, so we take really good care of him. So then in 2021, the fall of 2021, I was like, I'm selling my house. And to Christina's not surprise, because she's like, you say this every year. And I said, no, I mean it this year. I legit called the realtor and within 2 months sold the house, sight unseen, over asking, and it started this momentum of life changing for
everybody.
For all of us, right?
Yeah.
I opened my other business in 2023, and now we are starting our podcast in 2024. This year, Kristina, she made her big move.
I decided to stop corporate. Yeah. Not saying that I might not go back to some level, just to kind of do at a like a contract. I could see myself doing some contract work once in a while at a consultant level, because I do like the work that I have done. And I like it. I do like it. But I don't want to be back to where I was, and I needed to stop. And it was just not healthy anymore. And I decided, nah, I'm done. And I can't do this anymore. I'm miserable. And I just want to grow out a magical forest in my yard.
Which you did.
And my husband and I...
We will insert a photo here of her car stealing...
I don't
goldenrod from behind Shaw's.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of foraging, I'm going to call it, and borrowing from nature.
Which is fair.
Where I definitely was like traveling with my shovel and taking from the side of the road.
Which I was like, you need to be careful, because if you get pulled over, some cop is going to be like, ma'am, what are you doing with that shovel?
Like legit shovel.
Like in the night behind Shaw's.
Yeah, shovel, tarp. And I had a tarp.
Bleach.
Like, I didn't have any bleach. No.
This is not a
no
crime
duct tape
podcast.
or anything. But I definitely, like, I found a lot of cool stuff on the side of the roads and brought them home, and I replanted them into my own yard, which, by the way, my husband and I bought this house after Julie was like, bye, I'm selling the house for real. Right. And that's a whole other story of like how we found this house. It's one of those magical places where it's like, we can talk about that some other time, but it was that was a different, that can be a totally different episode about like when you trust in, you let go of everything, and you just like, oh, there it is. It just happens.
And to your point, this entire relationship has been that, right? The first day we met, the selling of the house, me starting of my business, you transitioning from corporate to like literally just quit her corporate job, and with faith. Terrified. You've been terrified the last 6 months and working on belief systems and, programs. But this is then now we're doing this. And we've been actually talking about this podcast for the 6 months. Yeah. And we were both kind of like...
Not yet.
In the in-between, we weren't ready. And then all of a sudden last week, we're like, oh, hey, we're recording next week. And we were both like, oh, yeah, no, that's what we're doing. And now it's like...
Moving.
It's this trusting and knowing. And that's why we're just here now, and for a while it's going to be pretty amazing.
And I think that's why we wanted to bring this to everybody else too, where I think we have not lived like that, like our entire, like we've worked so hard to get to this space of like trusting and believing and just doing, and wanting to bring it to others. Like I want to bring this to other people. Like I try to talk to my friends, and I bring these little nuggets, knowledge nuggets, I'll call them, and be like, hey, like, this is what I'm doing. And either they roll their eyes or they say, ooh, that's kind of neat. Yeah. And either they can take it and do something with it, or do what Teddy does, and he basically just rolls his eyes and walks away sometimes. Right. And that's okay.
Teddy's the collective.
Teddy is the collective.
Turns his back on us.
Oh,
Thanks for
often.
crazy and too loud.
Yeah. But I think it's one of those things where it's like we are. I just want to bring all of the good work that I feel like I've worked so hard to get to where I am, and I still have so much to do and so much to bring to others, and I always have. And I just want to bring it in a different way. And this just made sense. I've always been told like, "Oh, you're funny and you should be a stand-up comedian." And I'm like, "Hell no."
Yes.
But in this format, it's a little bit different. Like I can be funny in a way where I'm like talking to a friend and somebody that I love and that I care about and just be myself and be silly and be authentically me. Because that's when I'm funny and who I am.
Right.
And then you'll get to see the silliness come out.
Right. And to your point, I think, we've talked a little, for actually, full disclosure, we just pressed record today. We didn't have an agenda. I walked in and was like, we cannot speak because this is like what happens. Then I'd be like, why are we not recording this? So today's pilot is really just us kind of getting comfortable and talking from our true authentic self and really understanding that this entire journey, like you said, you've worked really hard, we work really hard, and it's never ending. So can we bring you some laughter and peace and love around and joy around this journey of healing your shit that's never ending, and can you get more comfortable with it and playful? And that's really, I think, what the podcast will be about. I actually wrote earlier today in my journal, it's from physics to fairies. So like we can talk, right?
I like that.
Right? From quantum physics to the fairies outside in your garden.
Yeah, because I think that's very much who we are too. Like we like the scientific piece. Like I like having that structure and science and the math and But we also I like believing in the the garden fairies and the dragons and all the fun mystical stuff, because that brings part of the fun in life too. Like, how do you not believe in some of that stuff just for fun?
Right. And we don't know.
And how do you know? You don't know.
I mean, if we talk the quantum physics, it's just another dimension of reality that we don't see. So we'll talk. That's a whole nother episode, right?
Episode 22.
Quantum physicist. But that's how much fun this is going to be, because it won't be super. It's going to be actually super woo woo, but it's also going to be very scientific, very realistic. Okay, so do we want to wrap this up?
Yeah, I think this is good for our intro of who we are and how we got here and how we met.
Yeah, for sure. One question I think we should end with would be, of this entire journey that we've been on together, what is one thing that sticks out in your mind? So like the last 10 years. I guess, for our relationship. Or I don't know, make it whatever you want.
No, I think that's no, that's good. Look, I can remember the first time I met you and watching you on your healing journey has been really cool, because I saw you in a different, you have grown considerably from that first time that I met you to where you are now. And it's been really cool to see. I know I'm going to cry too right now. Because it really has been really freaking amazing to see. Because you're still core who you are. And I think that that's important for everybody to know, that I think you still are who you are, but you change and you're just different and you just become better.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool to see you stepping into this space of you're more of your magical self. And that's freaking awesome to see.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just became more of who I authentically, truly am.
Yeah.
And
obviously grateful just.
Yeah. I mean,
overall.
I literally, again, on the ride here this morning, I told my spirit guides, I was like, oh, thank you for this. Well, I'm going to actually pause on that. I'm going to actually answer the same question because it's so interesting that the reason I started crying in the car was because I had a vision of us achieving success, whatever that. It was more of like a feeling and a vision that I saw. And actually in it was you in your true authentic self. And that's what made me cry. Because I got to see you
to that spot.
And then I cried because I was like, oh my God, that's what this is really about, is being able to, for us to be in our true authentic, sovereignty,
our spaces,
divine feminine space, and then to help support you get into that. And kind of just guide and support and give you as much value by telling these stories and having people on the podcast. I think that that's really important.
I love that.
Yeah. So.
And I feel that. Like, I do feel like this is the right... Again, I wrote it down. I told you the other day. Like, I wrote it in my little journal notebook of, like, come October, podcast.
Yeah.
Done. Like, we're doing first episodes.
Yes.
And then you called and you're like, hey, I think we need to do this. The production team has told us we need to do this.
Right. Spirit guides.
And it was like, yeah, I already wrote it down. Like, we're good.
Right.
Like, let's do it.
This is alignment.
Yeah.
That's what alignment looks like.
Feels good.
So, all right. Well, that is the end of episode 1, our pilot. We are excited to be on this journey with you and look forward to seeing you next time.
See ya.
Bye.